Mark, Uma Jache Sonda, Umak Jache Shibata Garnisina, da Zochishute, Bernatumba Ri Sanche Tumba Martudari, and Cotuda La Shine, Tanda John Royatella, Uma Bak Jache Sonre. Teni Nintube Jomche Song. Then Interesena. Berna Bumpa, you are around to Bumpa. Bumpa la, don't know Huna, Bumpa Chane, Meba, Dodo Meba Chano Grova, Tina Yinke, then Godin, Tara, Telatine, then Jomche, Bumpa Jomson, the Nitins on Bumpa Miss Wata, around to Namhi Jun Chenroa. Jomche so.
Namshigande.
Tara namhi degan eta dimbango on the teni ta namhi zone dimbaji mipa terwa namhi sen dimbaji dimbarji baji mipa namhi ta junche ba koran so gopa lan doran gopa tham de teni namhi gopa te gopa dimba de koran so ke ta kom chazogolo tarthok kompang zone gorwa Teni Matek Shiche is that Matek Batamje, Teni Tsendamba Simas K. Yomari, the Hitsane Tenipe Tsaris, Berna Jang will remote Yuna, Teni Trolando Jang de Mar Hexuina, remote around Ying Hengri, Tina Zupote, around here and the Tigala, Nam Hisari and about Ten Tigala. Te le jumde se ando yomari sen te labra teni ta luze ka tomba chepa tere luze ka tomba se ta tombari san lok pa ni yang zokchin su kapse yeche si teni ye domani yu mamnyong ba song tsek song Then the day domani jia yu samari sanda tandavin zokchin korang la chung yori yo mare te nyamli jibatan ji noriong yori samsang teni yeche si da yen yu manyong ba se te zamla hin ro ya tere teni chaja chimbo kapsi in yang chaja chimbo si jate che Jiang Masam Lam Dutini, Gang, Dream Goba, not Tommy, Rao Jing, the Sumne, Tanda Ten Dutini, Huma Yink Song Yungarwa, Lumbu Chaja Chergombasi. Then Lumbo Tanje Chaja Chimbo Gon Dutini, Parcher, the Tundu Jivalendo and Yinkayori Sonrwa. That tell us about Chepa, say that sorry, they do Chakchin la Junjuku Mari, Umala Junjuku Mari, Zokshin la Junjuku Mari, Yinayang, the Yamni Chidu, the solo non Rosayuzam, the solo Normani Sunkuyori.
So, continuing with these instructions from Gampopa and the precious Garland of the Supreme Path, we are now on number 4 of the things to not confuse, or the 10 confusions to be identified. So number 4 says, confusion occurs between the nature of emptiness of phenomena, or dharmadatu, and the view of annihilation. So identify them. So first, Khenpo says he would like a holistic view that proponents of Madhyama can stray into or fall into. And so that is the sort of nihilistic view, which is emphasized the unelaborated nature. So this aspect of unelaboration, operated or non-elaboration. And so with a fixation to that, then one falls a bit to the side of nihilistic view. Then the nihilistic view is the view of an annihilation, which is like that it falls to the side of cessation, and that it is the view like when if you break a vase with a stone, then once the vase is broken, the actual object is broken, then that is it. So it is like the based on the truth of cessation, then there is once there is no longer the vase, then the consciousness too does not have any real nature, inherent nature. So the continuity of the consciousness is broken through cessation. And so therefore they fall with this type of view, then there's a falling to the side of nihilistic view. And then the Tirtikas, or non-Buddhist Tirtikas, have the view of annihilation or nihilistic grasping by thinking that that is nothing but the phenomena of this life. And then once this life is over, that's it. There's just annihilation. Like a footprint, like a print or a track in the snow, once the snow melts, there's no longer any drawing, any image or footprint. And so in the same way, when this body dies, then the consciousness just ceases. And then there is the view of the nihilistic view that is based on there's the view that is kind of to be grasping at emptiness itself. So falling to the side of emptiness and neglecting the aspect of appearance, the mind becoming fixated to thought of emptiness, then there is the thought, there's the nihilistic view that falls too much to the side of emptiness, or there's the thought that there is only by those who go astray as Dzogchen practitioners, fall too much to the side of the sort of primordial, the primordial, there is no true or real existence. And so primordially, nothing exists. Nothing has existed from the beginning, or it is primordially so, and that this primordial nature itself is emptiness, but falling too much to the side of emptiness, and somewhat distorted. And then for those practicing Mahamudra, the nihilistic view can arise by fixation to the claim that there is nothing whatsoever. There is nothing whatsoever. And so therefore it is said that the one who practices Mahamudra incorrectly just falls into a sort of a stupor of dullness, and therefore then being reborn as an animal. And so thinking, oh, there's nothing, if one is only to meditate on non-thought, there's, and so emphasizing this aspect of non-fall into a form of nihilistic view or experience. So this isn't to say that there are any flaws with the teachings, whether it be Mahamudra or Dzogchen or Madhyamaka, but the practitioners, those who practice, it can go astray with regard to their perception of is taught.
Alright, then da chujiyen shibate kan sina sanje ge tuju la yobe chujiyen dang tata nyarwa na chi de be simchin je ge ju la yobe tani chujiyen de la chepar yo mare zangi yo mares tani kunzob dan bechun daga rang tani tondang ke hilok cha de yoris nang zambon de ngarang zo ke tondang yin ba 만통 외ser ngarang zum madro bari then job sanji jomdin de la so batang janchu sum then yanda thong ne number drawer sumbana yinke hyunda dala then dada kenelo thong du drawer sumare then du ta tenden nelo te yang then hakogo wa te karchimbo zeta nenga terwa hakogo yuri then te hako sumaina then joban jitin sunggung ke gonjing nando tawe sida tawak cho tawanang cho de jirba tawen cho jir tokba dangdin ba then ta tawa de tokba teri son tawa tokba te
So then with regard to dharmadatu, the dharmadatu is the enlightened mind or of all the Buddhas, the enlightened awareness of all the Buddhas, in which there is no distinction with regard like relative dualistic phenomena. Within the dharmadatu, all is equalized. Beings of all realms are the same in essence. There is no difference. There is no difference with regard to good and bad, and so on. All that is that appears in its multiplicity, according to the truth, is of a single nature, single basic essence from the perspective of the ultimate truth. So, as long as one is stuck within confines of perception according to the relative truth, without transcending that, without realizing the ultimate truth, we are not free. We are not liberated until this ultimate meaning, this fundamental ground is realized. And that fundamental ground, that fundamental nature is what is fully manifested by the Buddhas and Bodhisattvas who have reached the stages of awakening. And so once that original nature, that true nature is directly seen and understood, itself is liberation. And so it is very important to understand this. Lord Jigten Sumgön says in the Gongchik, the supreme view is that which is endowed with realization.
Tawa chuji yengde ogo yona jin ni la tingo yori sonre jin ni de la jig de la dakjin zo sosu chango ake ne dong de karisina lama gevshi ni la mugu dambe chula deni zunju ke ta kocha deni nyamni ta chadoglo lama ka yin de nyamni data bachik chango gure teni yinjin shibade gebishini yontin dan demba te tab nyamnyong de demba te taboke teni nelo ngotu undu ten ngotu yomba ta te kandar yinjin chade yore ta te jin ni bote timdan person so undu teni ta ngarang so ke chuji yeng ran yin nelo sincha maloba te to to yores
So in order to to realize this view of the dharmadatu, there are two necessary conditions: the conditions that are dependent upon oneself, and then the conditions that are dependent upon other or an outer situation or condition. So the conditions that are dependent upon oneself are then devotion towards one's spiritual teacher and diligence, the armor-like diligence. And then, and with these two, then one is able to practice to the instructions of one's Lama, to put the instructions into practice, the instructions that one has received from one's spiritual teacher. And then the condition that is dependent upon other, or the external condition, is the condition of a qualified teacher giving the pointing out instructions, so introducing one to the true nature. So the external condition that needs to be present. So when these, when both of the external and internal conditions, then the interdependence is sufficient, or is such that one is able to realize the true nature of the Dharmakaya, or the Dharmadatu, in a given way.
Ta tende ne lo tene masam juba da trawa te tene sosoke dami to hirabrang ke juyo yimba tenda sung yorwa te hira par simbanana.
And this nature itself is, as is said in Heart Sutra, it is beyond thought and beyond expression. It is the selfless, the wisdom that realizes the truth of selflessness.
Masan jumi ri sen tene soso kembe zu maje payina tene malare bag sumba na yinke son sonam zanga so hingle te soro hinka le kala ya tene ta urpong tamje ke urpong se ya ke jur urpong zu ta trogo to ya ti ya kom ya te sok se ya ke juris tene le manupa la na bezu manupa la chicha yo son le manupa la chicha yo son te le te na yinke ta ken sonam to so ke trogo to ya la so pakanga se ya ke chi de te le matam na hen ke ta san ngaran so hen yo hin ke trogo ja no ma ti na yin ke na san ju mi ri se te je che am be zu ma je de na te ni na yan to to ma wa son za te ni ko wa lan ta min ro
Ta te chemati so?
Ke te malare paterwa hinka yo ngaran su hinka tamje tene hinka le tenda chena tene ngaran su ke ne tande la so batan je tel tin ngaran su te sa tenda chena trogo to ya so phasen rogrwa mi rogrwa kanga de tene yina yang hinka la so ko sonam ji ne hen de mo le tenda chi gore manina tene ko hinka yo ba chang ke real hinka yo ba chang ke tene ngaran su trogo ja rog marwa so
That's all. Di hako song yini ang jemala di pe di nang shin ngato karema chena pe au so
ta masan jumi yin zang teni ta
yini ang petson ma
teni
chena.
ta ngarang choke wache go yu samari tin betson ro kayang ma jena teni nelok de to to marwa ten nelok to ma thana teni ko la ta mi gorwa sonjang ko an tami zonde nelok de ma to na kantang ko an na yureng bo ne go tong rwa
However, if we say or if we think, oh, it is beyond thought, it is beyond expression, and sort of think therefore nothing is needed, no effort is needed, then it becomes, as Milarepa describes, if there is the merit to have a field, to have fields and abundant land, the fields have to be worked, fields have to be tilled, and one has to farm the fields in order to be able to reap the benefit, in order to grow rice and wheat and so forth, and to fill one. If there are fields, but then there is no work that is done to till the fields, then there's no way to actually harvest fruit and then to benefit from that harvest and to fill the belly. So it doesn't do anything to alleviate hunger. And so in the same way, if thinking meaning is beyond word and beyond expression, and there is nothing to be done, then we will not realize the true nature. And if we don't the true nature, then we cannot become free from samsara. We just remain trapped in endless samsara. That is why they say samsara is beginningless and endless. Unless there are the efforts made to get free, never any end to samsara.
Hoya thinking about Nyamnyong Tang Topala Norsa use Pitch Yuriti Kani Huai Ying the Nimatana a bit yair, bit carries Nyamnyong Alan Guana Jiris Ben a Kushujina Kushuji make a panton and the Nyamnyong of Chad Urison. Mariquar is the Gua. No Mariquari, Kushuji make it to Haquarba.
To see an apple for the first time and say, oh, that's an apple, understanding arises. But then when the apple is eaten, when one actually tastes the apple and eats the apple, then the experience of the apple is experienced. Then one has experienced the apple. So this is like in this case, the understanding is more sort of equated with experience, and then the experience of the apple is like actual realization, actually realizing, actually knowing, or experiencing. And so in this way, if we have some level of understanding that arises, level of experience, but it hasn't actually fully developed, then one isn't to sort of become thinking that is enough. If that is the case, then one is sort of in danger of going astray or stopping short of having a real realization develop. And so therefore the understanding between experience and real realization is to be understood. Or we could also say understand and direct experience.
Kushuji make it to Ataveri Lavroa. Te in the Hunkalama Pekarisum Risina. Goa te Olangaso Limpa Linkayoa Limpa to low make bone to Telete Pangavia Kitchen Linkayoa. Tina Yeris. Yanyamaji Koranga to low make to low may bow younger to low Hakosa to low.
To low clothing?
They make book to low Ryan do Tinitella Lincoln or Limba that they make the Pangaviachit. Go a Limba and that they go Yam Navi Nyam that the Yan and Rose on Rita. Carries in that to Lola make book the Chohakosa.
Make book Hako make on make the make
to Laura.
Oh, yeah, tear. Rebe.
Dolora ditini ta tela limpa lin ya dolo de ya smyak chit. Jirda te yi pache ya yogang gongda ninga hiram do.
Yeah, gongda nga yapo koma songte.
Yeah.
Gongda.
Okay, mat ta ngap tukwa tin ko. Zunbo dang zunju la nor sa yu song. Teni zunbo shiba de ta zo chi kyu de sotar nang jan sem sawang hak domba la soba zunbo tanda ji yonggo ku yuri yongbo toni teni yin nu yip je pang song jam de domba ka su yin la nu ya ta nu ya ke jo tam je pang gu ri song e pa ya je de teni so so ke ju lam ya bo tan sa je na ya bo yori de go yori de la zunbo yang ta zo ga ya mai je na so ya bo min na ya bo yun don do je de ba de la chun chi la ra de ni nor sa yo zo chi ki de so gun hong ton ra la yang kon do gun hong de yin nu ro ge yin la je yong ro ge sam ba to ni bo je de wa na ko zun bo cha yong ge ran dong chi de hu ya bo je de wa na de yang chun chi cha ro ge
So here the text says confusion occurs between the virtuous and the show that people by them. But actually, another way we could word this is confusion occurs between integrity. So like it could be virtue or integrity and pretentiousness. So this word sumpo, which I would maybe translate as integrity, but it also is like specifically related to like the virtuous conduct of the vows. So in general and mainly, this is referring to, upholding the outer pratimoksha or individual liberation, maintaining the inner vows of bodhicitta, and likewise observing the secret vows of tantra or secret mantra. And so when, for instance, taking refuge, which are vows of liberation, then we abandon harming others or refraining from harm and engaging in a path of a virtuous conduct or conduct which is beneficial to self and so it really, it comes down to the vision in the mind. So one can uphold sort of the outer appearance or the kind of appearance of the vows, but inwardly one has to have the pure motivation, and mainly in the Mahayana intent, this motivation is focused on achieving the welfare and benefit of others. But if the vows are upheld just sort of merely as an show, or just and specifically with an intention to only benefit oneself, then it's a pretentiousness rather than real integrity.
Teni dumbate triyek dan dunchel la norsa tan triyek zon den troa hein ne tsende la dimban zin bedinzin tamje hipa de lan troa hipa la roa ta te dang yang duncher sepe ngarang zo dikaps duncher hipa da lai pe du namying king zena ta te chi khe te chi do che jiti dubya soso la tam hin ra yong ya chi teni nyang to ba hyu yun don do chin teni ruba ke pen yadam la zo ke la ruba ke tu ba ke jin zo yo ba tin na yin teni rujin chi teni zang zo shira min don do yadam ko la tam je la te jin cha yo ba rujin rujin tu ba la so ba da de so ke ngarang so le dun da jin so de so de ni ru ba de so ru ben chen wa so ke la gong de ni da dun cher la da Nima tada shuyina tsindala dimbar hi bidin chura samchile hi warwa niba dina tsindala dimbar hin etini ni de tratu tam hinra chi de tana chi ko yora teni norsa yore so
That's all. So then 7. Actually, number 7 is somewhat similar in meaning to number 6, it sounds like. Here it says, confusion occurs between the loss automatically done and the loss carried out by Mara. So identify them. So another way to translate this might be, confusion occurs between the extinction or destruction of illusion, so this term dukir sounds sort of similar to what was mentioned above. It sounds like it's kind of like pretentiousness or making a show sort of. And so what real and it is. So what real of confusion or the destroying illusion is referring to the destruction of the fundamental confusion of grasping to true existence. And when that grasping, the delusion of grasping to truth is not destroyed or not overcome, then comes to distraction, even in the midst of Dharma practice. Even though one maintains a sort of the exterior of Dharma practice, one has fallen inwardly, one has fallen prey to distraction and Mara, the work of Mara, in particular the son of the gods, the Mara of distraction, and one maybe falls into then the 8 worldly. In that case, seeking sort of praise and recognition from other, even if one sort of wears the of the Yidam deity, like the bone ornaments, one wears maybe a bone mala neck or carries around the skull cup, and sort of expresses sort of this outward kind of accoutrements that represent the destruction of illusion or confusion, but inwardly one is seeking recognition and praise from others, then it is simply the 8 worldly concerns, or it is the of Mara. So these two then are not to be confused.
다 드럽 히바데 베르나가란 존르나 차자 쳔보 초근그럽 더바 더소 탐제라 드럽 쇼가 요르와 데니 양 소보세다 응앙그럽 히베탑도 사원의 때르동 초원의 때르동 다트소 가히응원의 때르동 양다 세딘바요 데가히 양드라 소보드라 요르와 덴데니 노니 마리소.
So then number 8 says, confusion occurs between the deeds of Siddhas and conjurers or charlatans, so identify them. So then a real Siddha is someone, is an accomplished practitioner who has realized the meaning of Mahamudra, who has really realized Makaya. And therefore they are a real Siddha. Someone who is a charlatan may claim to have siddhis, and they may go around sort of saying that they're seeing, miraculous signs and claiming to do miraculous deeds and pulling termas from under earth and pulling termas from underneath the water. Now, of course, there are some real, authentic, great tertans, but there are tertans who are charlatans. So these two, siddhas and charlatans, are not to be confused.
But Yindun chipa randun chipa la norsayo so. Hibate Jancho Semguton, Yimping get some tone, Deni Soso Chazogolo. Randulutan Yington chipa mambo yorwa. Dedang randong ji hibate yang kap kap so pe je tama yin yang o nge yin na pinto roram ji ge yu se te so so ge pun chi dang nam ji bo la ya bo che do ya yo ba te yo res
Gong ta, yang tu.
yin dong ji hibate da so so ge yin pin ge sam no teni yin sim jin tam je la ro ba chi ya yo ba te yang cham cha ngarang chu ge yin dong ji se du som le ye当本期的时候，直播了要不及，这对运动员是呢，等他接呢，对你弄多少有的说。
So then it says, so confusion occurs, and number 9 is confusion occurs between deeds that benefit and deeds that benefit oneself. So identify them. So one way in which these two get confused, so real deeds that really benefit others are those which are performed with a mind of bodhicitta, which are really sort of impartially made. These deeds are enacted impartially with the aim to bring about a benefit to beings without any sense of partiality. So completely without any thought of with regard to one's own benefit, one's on benefiting others sort of indiscriminately. But then when one is convincing oneself that one is doing good deeds to benefit others, but really that effort is actually tainted with partiality, so with generosity and so forth, but there is really some hidden wish to benefit oneself, or one is really only on benefiting those who are loved ones and relatives or one's own family, then actually that is tied up on benefit, and so therefore one confuses deeds that are actually benefiting others and deeds that are actually based on some degree of self-interest.
Tene jebate tamke ba dan yo jo lo nor sa yo so. Ta chan chu ke yin dong ji de tap mambo la tin ne yin dong nang go yo. Tene yang chang chang ngarang chu ke te ko so ji yo ji ji de sam ne ta dang non ro ya yo re. Te la yang ko nan de ke yo re. Yang ga he ke 장초 샘유 논도게 양 드라 요지 토네레 갈렘베 요레요 다트서 참제 노 데니까 유송 콘라 간스는 라원 요르바.
So then number 10 says confusion occurs between skillful methods and here it says pretension, but actually I think in this case a more accurate way to say it would be deception. So identify them. So in general, when one is engaging in skillful methods are actions which are skillfully done in order to bring about the benefit of others. But sometimes one can deceive, engage in actions that are sort of seemingly activities, but really actually there is deception in them. And so one should really identify when there is deceit or when there is really bodhicitta or the objective to truly bring about the benefit of others. And so these two sometimes are not identified.
Tateke Rami Norsa Jot Hione, Tene Manor Chujo de Hubakabri. Ambote Mubo Gangla Yang, Macha Par Chemmi Par Raptor Chungwane, Manarwa Yin so. Tene Tangaranso Tate Chetan Moj Chemado Tako Chemmi Song de Chetan Aran Soso Nam Chemji Yorwa Tenita. 통로도 yang saja yin jila ji tanda chemda wo ji wa mayen pa tene rad chongori sonri ta tem hibade zo chi korwa ka chemran korwa ka chadang monsong ka chem tene targo yorwa tene tanda chongwa ina manar pa yin so
So then that completes the 10 confusions to be identified. Then we had the 10 unmistaken principles to be observed. So the first of these is to leave without attachment to anything, to take ordination, and to be homeless is an unmistaken principle to be observed. So speaking, leaving one's home or abandoning one's, the life of a household or one's home and family, this doesn't mean then to create a household and, somewhere else, to leave one's home or household and then to build a household elsewhere, but actually to home and become a renunciate or to take ordination. What is meant here by leaving is to leave the home or the household of samsara, which is the mind of attachment, aversion, and ignorance.
ni ba de lama tamba give hin ngolo tu yin do korwana manin so ta lama ngolo tu yin kor se de dan go kala lama kor shi betonda marite de song to so le par new yi la zong nyam sling la te zo chi cha de yori jumsin kan resna lama give hin dang so so ke semni je 타데 나오지 요리 대가랑 손나 리마도 타돌라마 기위히니 톡 삼제 대당 톡 잠제 대다 소속 셈니 이와미 바인두 데네 람송 까인도 드 데네 당와 담치 참차 당와 창토라 단다 용제 요리 대 야보 요리 야부톤다레 간스나 살라마 게르히니 탐제 그 당와 나온데 다랑아랑 추티 감보바 그티 송 나온다 도아 어땡 응네 갈 랍도 삼산로지 요레 주만도 테 당와 찬토라포 소수 논터데 하고 용바당 데세야 그 돈다 딱다 베나 미 카히 라베 카카보 카데 큐도디나 데크 나살스 큐핑도 디나 이리
Then number 2 says to venerate the holy guru and the well-wishers like that of the turban on the head is an unmistaken principle to be observed. Let's see. So actually, no, it's okay. So actually what it says is, I don't know about well-wishers, but it actually says to venerate the holy guru and spiritual teachers or spiritual friends above one's, holding them above the crown of one's head is an unmistaken principle. This doesn't mean necessarily that we are always holding, the guru at the crown of our head, like visualizing the times at the crown. But what it really means is always holding their instructions and the pith instructions and the essence of the spiritual teacher, the guru's mind, as in one's own heart and mind. Understanding that actually, ultimately, one's own mind, one's own true essence of mind, the enlightened awareness and qualities, the love in one's spiritual teacher's mind stream are actually one and the same, that actually we are never separate from the guru. And that is the way in which we are never separate from our spiritual teacher. And so And so by having that awareness or holding that awareness that our minds are actually the same and always doing our best to follow the instructions of our teacher, to reflect upon his instructions and to put those instructions into practice then that is what is really meant by holding one's a crown of one's head. And so the way and reflect upon the pith instructions should be in such a way that they're actually working to transform our mind stream so that we recognize our own errors and mistakes so that we apply the instructions in such a way that we are improving or that we are progressing on the path in our own practice, that we are actually making the state of our own mind. And sometimes this can be even a little bit painful, sort of like when we take medicine. There are some medicines that are very bitter and hard to swallow. So to really honestly look at our own faults. But it is like bitter medicine. There's a benefit by taking a bitter medicine. Then this often might be the best anti-cover from a particular illness.
Tenis mbade chula tusam gumsum chungmar shiba namne manruso. Tata so mo je hirache mandowa teni. Ta te chungmar shiba song de tinto jigla. Tu ba de la samba de gombe nyamslingore song.
So here it says to combine hearing, reflection, and meditation on the right Dharma is an unmistaken principle to be observed. Actually, there is a word here that is in the Tibetan that's missing, that is sort of referring to the three, but the Khenpo says that what this actually means is to meditate or to engage in these three sequentially. First, to engage in hearing, and then hearing is to reflection or contemplation. So then one engages in reflection, and then reflection or contemplation leads to meditation. And so they are practiced in sequential order.
Hey, yebat, tawan tola, juba mawa ne manarba yin song. Ta so la tawa gache, tobo yo na ya juba te, ta lot heb gori, song juba heb zu de le, jumde tracking trawala, nanchong mazine, joji, tanam batroma je, sa tonen roho yo na yang, so gamba wola, ma shurba taphi jine, yamba da ninji gom tenda chi gori.
So then it says, modest conduct and high thinking are an unmistaken principle observed. So actually, what is written here as high thinking could also be translated as a high view. Holding a high view and engaging in modest conduct are unmistaken principles to be. So here, the meaning is no matter how high or realized one's view may be, to always humble conduct, always maintaining very cautious conduct when it comes to actual conduct of the body and speech. So for instance, taking care of the smallest of creatures when we walk, being cautious not to step on an ant, and holding compassion in our hearts at all times is holding a high view and observe modest or humble conduct.
Jirdan lo yang si lo samno de ja chimbo samno de kusu tobo tongda chungchung la tenda kusu tobo ma je ne tani yin yang 담자 도보 소소 그 케지에 부동다 도소라 딱다 조고리스 딱다 저 냠린지 고고리랑 도소라지 나총제마 참장하는 저 오케이 다 땡레스리 렉사리 대상
Chibo. Oh, hello?
고한데
So, tengo kare sungin kong ta. Tago Thompson.
로 ngapa 들어와 로 양라 다는 만을 바인 소 제가 나랑 줄로 그수 도보 로자 충충 머리 로자 칠 침보고거리 동아 강아 가래 중화이나 로자 치 심자 치고리 이나야 소속 개랑 야 담자 담색 저소랑 야보송 거리 저소 차긴 차와네 송 요래 라제나 만을 바래 송도
So then number 5 says to have a broad view, open